I'm going to talk about 4 things that I've learned working in cybersecurity in the last 4 years. Now, for some context, I have worked in various other industries such as digital marketing, communications, education, and also hospitality. Cybersecurity is actually the industry that I have stayed in the longest of my whole career, which is actually kind of crazy. The reason why I wanted to make this video is because there was a study that came out in 2023 from RMIT in Melbourne, and they basically wrote about the state of the cybersecurity industry in Australia. And in the report, it found that there are only 17% of the workforce is made up of women, and most of them tend to leave after 4 years. I've made it to 4 years, so basically I wanted to reflect on the experiences that I've had that I think are not only helpful to other women, but anyone I think who may be looking to move into cybersecurity as a career or moving from another career path into cybersecurity. So number 1, and this is probably going to sound kind of obvious given that I just mentioned that there's only 17% women in cybersecurity, but the first one is you're going to work with a lot of men. And that might sound obvious, but for me, it did come as a bit of a shock. And I say that because I had previously worked in industries where they were primarily more female dominated, especially in, say, teaching and even communications. So for example, when I go to meetings, I'm usually the only woman on the call. And I'm not saying that I have anything against working with men. In fact, a lot of my best mentors and the people who've helped me along my journey in my career so far have mostly been men. It's just something that is noticeable though. So you join the call and someone might accidentally say, "Oh, good morning, gents," because they're just so used to working with other men. And I think it's just something to be aware of. My second one is that reading, writing, and communication skills are very much needed and they're highly underrated. For example, because I have pretty good writing skills, I'm able to write very good reports. But it's not only about that, it's about understanding who you're writing the document for. Say if you're like a security engineer or security architect and you're writing using that type of language that only those other types of people can understand, then that's not going to be very effective. Having good presentation skills is also another really highly underrated skill. And when you come into an industry where you have been in a previous role where those skills were highly sought after, you start to realize that a lot of people just don't think that they're important until it gets to the time where you need money for funding. And that's another thing that people forget, that cybersecurity is just another business unit. It's not its own thing. Cybersecurity doesn't just get to go off and do whatever they want. They need funding from the business. And every business has competing priorities about where that money is going to go. So understanding that business perspective is really important and it's going to really help you in any type of role that you go into. My third one is don't tie your worth to your company. And what I mean by that is build your personal brand, build your own skill set, and don't tie it to the company that you work at. Now, I'm not saying you can't be part of the team and you can't use your skills to help the place where you currently are working at. But what I mean is, if a time comes and you decide you want to leave your job, if people respect you and they know you and you are posting about all the things that you do, say maybe on LinkedIn, or maybe you have a Substack account where you share projects and things you're working on, and maybe you've done your own security research into discovering certain vulnerabilities in products or whatever it is. If you can show that and you have your own little community where people know who you are and they know what you're capable of, then you're never going to have an issue finding a job. And there's so many jobs in cybersecurity. There's a lot of companies that are looking for good people. And I can't emphasize this enough. If you are good at your job and you're a nice person, you're not going to struggle to find a job. You can't just start turning up at events and contacting people to go for coffees when you need something. Building that rapport and building a sense of community takes a long time. And That's what a lot of people don't seem to realize. And my last one is cybersecurity is often talked about as a technology problem, but at the heart of it is a people problem. And what I mean by that is we are trying to secure people so that they can effectively do their jobs or effectively run their business or effectively run a government department or whatever the situation is. There's often this kind of attitude that, oh, people are so stupid. Why did they click on that link? Why did they leave that, Amazon AWS S3 bucket open to the internet and had all their data stolen? Cybersecurity is hard. It just takes one mistake for an attacker to come along and steal your information. It's much easier to attack than it is to defend. Now, I'm not saying that means you should just, use the same password for all your accounts and stuff and just go, oh, well, it's too difficult anyway, I may as well not care. Technology can be secured if you do it properly, but the really hard thing is the human part, right? For example, we're seeing that security awareness training programs aren't working. People are still clicking on links. People are still having their entire environments broken into because someone clicked on a phishing link. So at the crux of it, that's what we really need to solve, in my opinion. Now, these are just my experiences. I also think that these 4 things could actually be applied to a lot of different STEM or male-dominated areas as well. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. And yeah, make sure you follow the Cybersecurity Gals. We'd love to try and make some more long-form YouTube content for you guys. Thanks. Bye.